Welcome to Bitcoin Center Radio, recorded live from downtown Miami's expanding business district.
And welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Bitcoin Center Miami radio podcast. Today is May 20th, 2020, and we are here with a very special guest to bring you the first podcast episode post-halving. We are joined again by our good friend and colleague, Johnny Dollar. For those of you guys who don't know, Johnny is an artist who focuses on themes of privacy, surveillance, copyright, hive mind thinking, virtual reality, and identity. Johnny, thank you so much for coming back for round 2 here on the podcast.
Thanks, Matt. Good to be back.
Glad to have you back. Johnny was actually the first ever guest we had on the podcast, so definitely glad to have you back. But how have you been in a post-corona world, man?
You know, like most, been in lockdown, but trying to make the most of it, doing as much as I can virtually. Just this weekend, I was part of the virtual Rare Art Festival. It was the 3rd annual Rare Art Festival, and we did it virtually. And that's really just mostly the crypto art, tokenized art. Mm-hmm. So it was a 3-day event. It was really cool. Lots of minds, lots of people in the space getting together, and I'm really excited to where the space is going. So it's really cool.
Nice, man. Yeah, I think the quarantine fatigue is starting to set in, but this whole shift has kind of really highlighted the importance of the ability to connect digitally and doing the virtual conferences and, bringing people content online without being physically present. It's kind of crazy how quickly things shifted over. Absolutely.
And people are, collecting this digital art online. A lot of people got their Trump bucks, their supplement money, and they spent it on collectibles. And a lot of people had time to deep dive and learn not just about crypto art, but just about crypto in general. Right. There's been just a huge uptick. Really, all this money inflating the market. I've heard, I had a relative who, is in their, 50s, talk about, Bitcoin's really positioned well. Crypto, I was kind of shocked, and they're like, they were talking about inflation. They're just saying, this is a real winner, And they kind of mentioned, like a big names getting into it and it'll really take off. I didn't really want to correct them, and I was just like nodding my head, just impressed that they were even talking about it. It was on their radar. Yeah, they get it. You don't need a degree in economics to know when the money printer goes brr that,
$125 billion a day. I think we just borrowed another $3 trillion with a T. And, the Fed they're not even trying to hide it. They've come out and just straight up said, we have unlimited money. We'll stop at nothing. It's QE forever. It absolutely dwarfs what we were doing back in 2008, back in 2009.
Oh. Yeah, no, it's really unfathomable because you said trillion with a T.
Right.
These aren't numbers. I can't really comprehend these numbers. You know what I mean? Like they're just it's a big number. I don't know what that means. But then like when people start talking about all the gold in the world at current market value equals something like 14, 15 trillion. All the gold ever mined out of the ground. I'm like going, that kind of puts it in perspective. That's a whole lot of money. Yeah, good for crypto.
We're used to hearing billion, with a B tossed around. But as soon as you start throwing around the T word there, trillions, you can't even wrap your head around. There's not even a trillionaire today, at least in 2020. I know everyone's screaming, Jeff Bezos is going to be the first trillionaire. Satoshi Nakamoto is going to be the first trillionaire, whether people like it or not. But Satoshi will definitely be a trillionaire before Jeff Bezos, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, and I think when we start getting to that point, we're not going to talk about dollars because it'll be $1 million to buy a loaf of bread. You know what I mean?
Right.
We'll go Zimbabwe level money. So. And that's really the talk. Like I said, from non-crypto people are talking about it like this because they get it. We're in a really strange place right now economically. And everyone knows this, but Yeah, it's so strange. It's bizarro world, really. Everyone's getting money. A lot of people aren't working, and they're just collecting more money than they would have working. I don't know. I'm not trying to judge that as good or bad. More, it's just what's the long term implication of that.
Absolutely, man. It's the twilight zone for sure. And like, I know some friends personally, man, that are making more sitting on their couch, not working, than they were grinding away at two, sometimes three jobs a week. So when you pay people more to sit on the couch and just watch Netflix all day, it kind of takes the incentive out of the capitalism, out of the system, it seems.
Yeah. And how could they go back to working working hard to make less? Are we going to have to raise, the minimum wage, quadruple it, double it, triple it? I don't know, man. I mean, stack your Satoshis. Really, yeah.
It's crazy. A few months ago, everyone was laughing Andrew Yang out of the door when he was talking about giving Americans a monthly check for universal basic income. And now people get that one taste of that free $1,200 and everyone's screaming, where's my next check? Where's my next $1,200? It's just so funny how quickly the entire sentiment can shift with the economic situation. It blows my mind.
It's true. And, the funny part is, or the sad part is, most of this money is going to big corporations.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just flat out taking it. And people don't care because they got paid off with $1,200. They're like, oh, whatever. It just shows all the cracks in this entire system we have, like, are being exposed. And anyone that's paying attention sees it,
Yep.
So really, I don't know about you if you put any of your stimulus money into crypto, but I think it's not a bad move if someone did,
Not a bad idea at all, man. I've definitely seen a ton of screenshots of people doing exact purchases for $1,200 for crypto. And, I definitely want to talk about Bitcoin a lot today. And I really respect your opinion on it, as someone who's been around the space for a while. We just had the third halving ever. The block reward is no longer 12.5 Bitcoin every, approximately 10 minutes. It's now only 6.25 Bitcoin approximately every 10 minutes. And I mean, there's a few things I want to talk about. One thing I'm a little worried about is the Bitcoin difficulty. So yesterday, we just had a Bitcoin difficulty adjustment. So for those of you guys who don't know, every 2 weeks, the difficulty of the network adjusts. So that way a block can be found almost exactly every 10 minutes. That's the way it was designed. That's the way it was programmed. That's the way it's intended for a block to be mined every 10 minutes. So if there's too many miners putting too much hash power onto the network, there's going to be a block found quicker than every 10 minutes. And then if that keeps happening every 2 weeks, the difficulty will increase to, help bring that down. But if a bunch of miners are dropping off of the network, which is what we're seeing now, then the difficulty goes downward, because as of right now, we're only at about 80% of where we should be. So the difficulty just adjusted yesterday. We should have found about 120 blocks by now. We're roughly 25 blocks behind. So we've only found 94 blocks. We should have found 120. So it's looking like miners are continuing to pull off the network. And I mean, this makes sense. The halving only happens every 4 years. It definitely pushes and forces out any small to even, I would say, medium-sized operations that were basically operating at a break-even point. It forces them to drop out of the network. But I just want to get your take on this, Johnny. Is it something that worries you? Do you think it'll just work itself out as the code intended? Do you see, the miner capitulation theory coming back into play here at all?
I firmly believe it'll work itself out. But in the meantime, this is a shaky moment. Every halving is different. People often want to predict the future with the past. But in blockchain and Bitcoin, the history, we don't have that much history. So when everybody always wants to tell the future, I really believe in the market. I believe like the miner will figure this out based on, it'll adjust. It might be a rough couple weeks. The next difficulty adjustment will work it out, but the market will adjust. They will find the proper profitability. Now, when you say you're worried, are you worried about the security of the network or the price?
No, I'm not worried about the security of the network at all. I guess the main concern would be, are miners going to dump? And then I guess secondary, if not even a bigger concern, is more and more hash power now going to be consolidated in China? As we know, China already has the overwhelming majority of the hash rate globally. I'm just kind of afraid that this is the halving really did knock out all the small players that were just clinging to that last little bit of profitability. And now you essentially need a large scale operation to profitably mine Bitcoin, or you need a warehouse located next to a dam, essentially. And that's a big reason why there's so much mining power concentrated in China. So I would say those are the two biggest concerns I have, as a miner dump, as these guys can't even really sell their old machines now. Are they just going to dump their coins? And then B, is mining power going to concentrate in China even more?
I do not think it will. Honestly, I think there's a lot of ways they can mine. I've heard about a lot of facilities, opening up profitably in Texas, as well as Iceland, where they have the geothermal. Iceland should just be cranking out the mining. And, I don't want to speak of things I don't fully understand or have the exact numbers, but I will say that a lot of people speak about this and they don't have the exact numbers. Because when we talk about the number in China, it's often mining pools that are getting hash power from all over the world. It's just getting collected in China, for example.
Yep.
As most, if the listener might not know, a mining pool is where, it used to be people could mine with their machine and get the reward, find a block all by themselves. Now that's difficult. So everyone pools together their resources from around the world. And when they find a block, they divide it up between them, depending on how much hash power they contributed to that pool. But those pools, like I said, are all, they might be in China, but the people, funding them, providing hash power could be all over the world.
Right.
Now, a lot of people are stealing electricity. No one ever wants to talk about that. They might have free electricity at their place of work, or plug it into, the power grid. There's a ton of excess electricity. I mean, the way electricity works is, it's generated. I mean, we don't really store it. So, like, there's excess electricity from nuclear power plants, all kinds of places. I think the market will solve this, Matt. So I guess, to summarize it, I think this is very temporary. I believe the beauty of Bitcoin is it allows for the market to solve these problems. It'll seem bad because in crypto, a day or a week seems like a month or a year, when really, it'll solve itself relatively quickly.
Right. And that's the beauty of it. There's no central authority. There's no Federal Reserve. There's no freaking Jerome Powell of Bitcoin that can just print, millions out of thin air. The rules are governed by the code and by the consensus of the network. And there's a huge financial incentive for, the miners to act in the best interest of the network. And, I'm glad you bring up Texas. So Layer 1 is a relatively new Bitcoin mining startup. They're actually backed by Peter Thiel, the legendary investor. I think he actually funded it to the tune of, I want to say, hundreds of millions of dollars, if my math is correct. But Layer 1 is basically saying they want to claim and take back 25 to, if not 30% of the global hash rate. So I think that would be huge if they can actually get it done. I don't know if they'll be able to do that within just 1 year, take back that much hash rate, but I think it's great for America. It's great for Texas. It's great for kind of just balancing out, the global scales there.
I mean, it's great for the world. I mean, we need this as decentralized as possible. I mean, I'm an American, proud American, but I don't want all the hash power here. I want it, distributed. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's exciting. No, and that's good to hear Peter Thiel's doing that, because this isn't one of his altruistic projects, I would imagine. He believes it's going to work and make him money, because this is profitable. That's great. That's great.
He wouldn't be putting up so many millions of dollars if he didn't believe in it. So definitely just, helps add even more legitimacy to the space. Peter Thiel, very, very respected, legendary investor. So I think, like you said, it's great for the world, overall. It's amazing for the bigger global picture of Bitcoin. That brings me to the next thing I really want to talk to you about, Johnny. So something pretty tremendous happened today. People are freaking out about it a little bit. They say that the little mini dump that just happened occurred because of this. So 50 Bitcoins that have not been touched since February 9th of 2009 actually got moved around today. So this sent a little panic wave through the market. People were thinking that it could potentially be Satoshi. Now, the crazy thing about this is the Genesis block was mined on January 3rd, 2009, right? But the coins that moved today were last touched on February 9th, 2009. So basically, only a month after the Genesis block. Now, am I thinking this is Satoshi? Maybe, maybe not, but really it only can be like a handful of people that have access to coins this old. Literally the first month of Bitcoin's existence. So, Johnny, I definitely want to get your take on this. I've heard so many different theories on it. Do you think it's Satoshi, just kicking around some dust, moving 50 coins of his, million, just to say, I'm still here. I'm still alive.
I don't think it is. Well, it wasn't Satoshi's wallet, if I'm not mistaken. It was a lot of the wallet we think is Satoshi.
Right. I think it's just an early miner wallet, not Satoshi's actual, million coins themselves, but still a very, very early.
Yes. Do you think it was a power move to move the market to buy more? Do you think it was somebody, it was like, hey, I just want to buy a new Mercedes. Let me get 50K. USD.
Yeah. The theory I'm latching onto, the theory I'm liking the most, is this is a fuck you to Craig Wright. It's a fuck you to Craig Wrong. For those of you guys unfamiliar, Craig Wright has been basically claiming for years that he's Satoshi. It's an ongoing legal battle that has drawn out for years. So the address that the coins actually moved from, Craig Wright claimed to own them, but they were, quote, locked outside of his control, aka, part of the Tulip Trust. So I think this is an old miner just calling Craig out, calling Craig's bluff, saying, dude, these aren't your coins. They've never have been your coins. They never will be your coins. I'm going to move and shuffle the coins around to prove that they're not yours. So I kind of like this explanation the most. Now, if we ever figure this out, I don't even know. It might take some time, but I definitely am giving some merit to this theory that it's just, calling out Craig Wright's bluff.
That's interesting. I am not as passionate with the Craig Wright as many are. No, I get it. But just so I know, Craig Wright was around back then. Like, he was among that handful who were mining Bitcoin at the time.
Definitely early on. I don't know if it was a month after the Genesis block. He's definitely been around the block a long time, but I don't know the exact date of his involvement with Bitcoin, and I'm not sure if it would have been, only a month after the Genesis block itself was mined.
Wasn't he one of the guys that were looking at the paper and talking, because Satoshi announced he was going to mine before he had mined,
Mm-hmm.
So No, you're probably right. Because the passion you have about this is really in a lot of people. A lot of people are very vehemently anti-Craig Wright and would like to give him a big fuck you.
Right.
So that is a plausible theory. I don't know. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Because like I said, you just told me. I wasn't aware of this till, I guess this just happened earlier today.
This just happened today,
So,
May 20th. We're breaking the story on the same day it happened to you guys. Now, if it was Satoshi, why would he only move 50 coins? If you're gonna show people that you're Satoshi, I could see moving maybe a few thousand, a few 10,000, a few 100,000. But if you made a transaction that big of hundreds of thousands of coins, that would definitely cause a panic in the market.
Well, really, if it was Satoshi, all he has to do is sign a message from that original address.
Exactly. He
doesn't even need to. He can move one Satoshi. Just nothing, and it would freak out the market.
Right.
So I don't think it's Satoshi. I mean, I think Satoshi. If Satoshi wants to let it be known, he could just write a message. I'm pretty sure he's sharp enough to do it anonymously. Although there are a lot of eyes on that address. Interesting. Wow, no, that's cool. So where do you think that's going to take the market in the future, or you think this is just a blip shakeup of the market?
This is a nothing burger, man. I mean, we've been consolidating in this 9,000 range for quite some time now. I mean, even if you want to say these 50 coins moving caused a dump, it was such a baby dump from 9.7 to 9.2, and we're already back to 9.5, 9.6.
That's a typical day in Bitcoin. That's not even a roller coaster ride,
right.
Really.
This is just an average Wednesday, a little sleepy Wednesday, and I definitely want to get your opinion on the price, man. I mean, it's no doubt that what has happened is absolutely tremendous. We know the death dump where we dropped from 8,000 to 3.8K. We've basically retraced that entire dump. We've made a few little baby rallies above 10,000. Now, we haven't been able to actually close and hold above 10,000, and we haven't been able to get over 10,500. But I mean, where do you think this is headed, man? I mean, things are pretty, I'm not going to lie, things are pretty fucking bullish right now.
They are bullish.
Even with the death drop, a week ago, when we plummeted 20% in one day from 10,000 to 8,000, again, we've basically erased all of those losses. We've retraced that entire dump, essentially. So I just want to...
Keep in mind, weren't we at 14K this summer? Last summer.
Yeah, not this summer, but... Yeah, 13.8K was absolutely no joke. So that was back in July of 2019.
2019.
Yeah. So
I mean, all honestly, I don't focus on. I mean, obviously, I care about the price, but I don't focus on it as much because I realize we haven't fully decoupled from Finance 1.0. And that's like we talked about earlier, in this crazy state of flux. So, I mean, Bitcoin is doing so well against all other world currencies that are, inflating. But we're measuring it against the dollar, which is going to be one of the last chips to fall of the fiat world.
Right.
So that being said, I think we're talking about the money printer going brr. Another, I don't know, quadrillion, some numbers I don't even know, going to be printed. So what does Bitcoin do? I think we're still kind of attached to the stock market slightly. I think we might have another dip. We could hit 6 again. I wouldn't freak out because Bitcoin is a Bitcoin.
Right.
Sooner than later, once we start to take off, it's going to get crazy. Like, I wouldn't sell any Bitcoin personally, not financial advice. If you want to take financial advice from an artist named Johnny Dollar, that's at your peril, dear listener. But me personally, I have a bit set aside in case there's a dip, but I'm not selling Bitcoin to try to, time the market by no means. I do believe, that we can. Stuff happens. Like, we're in a crazy world. Something could happen and people have to sell. But, honestly, I'm bullish. But I do know how this market is. We could have a quick dip trip to like 6,000 and pop back up to 12.
Right.
But I'm a firm believer, before you jump, you got to kind of bend your knees downward and then launch upward. And that's kind of how I feel Bitcoin.
That's a really great analogy, man. I think people are slowly starting to figure out that approximately 88% of all the coins have already been mined. Now, we know the last coin is not going to be mined until 2140, but a lot of people holding Bitcoin today share a similar mindset to you and I. They're not letting go. They're not selling. The exit plan here is death. We're hodling for life, guys. Sorry, these coins are not getting sold. And it's really going to become kind of a panic scramble over the last few million coins, being mined over the next, 120 years approximately. And especially when you study the macro picture, man, just runaway zombie economy backed by nothing. The stock market is completely detached from reality right now. You have over 30 million people unemployed. People aren't paying rent. They're not making money. They're sitting around waiting on a handout. Consumer spending is down. Even if you could wave a magic wand and we, throw the balloons up, hey, grand reopening, it's not like everything's going to return to pre-corona levels. It's going to be a slow build back up. And then especially when you look at what the Fed is doing, there's nothing that really makes more sense in today's world than Bitcoin. If you're sitting on cash, you're losing money with each passing day as the Fed prints more and more. They take away your purchasing power. The new normal is going to be a $30, a $40 lunch. I don't see a situation in which we're able to avoid hyperinflation at all.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. Now, the question is, so you were talking about Bitcoin and holding for life. I'm personally an adopter. I spend my Bitcoin. I have my stash. Well, on a day-to-day, I will make purchases with Bitcoin.
Right.
But I do believe one day one Bitcoin will buy me a house. Like, I will buy a house with a Bitcoin. I'll buy a car. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's coming. Like, really, it's money. I mean, I have to spend it because man, you can't eat a Bitcoin, you can't smoke a Bitcoin, and you also can't sneeze on a Bitcoin. So that's another plus about it. Though,
Exactly.
Now, Bitcoin, like digital money, is coming. You just on a whole other level, the ability to transfer value across country, across the world, into space. I mean, that's like, it's funny. It's not even far fetched because there's a ton of companies. Actually, I spoke with a guy. I guess I shouldn't name the company, but they send cargo into space, and I was like, really? No. Wikipedia. I knew the guy for years, hadn't seen him, and caught up with him. I was like, I immediately Wikipedia'd the company. He was like, oh yeah, we have a great space program. It was called. I guess it's no big deal. There was Sierra Nevada Corporation. I was like, what? And it's like, yeah, we send stuff to space. We're working on commercial, space projects. And it's happening. Like in our lifetime.
It's coming, man. It's coming. Is it going to happen next month or this year? Probably not. But sometime over the next few years, the next few decades, we're going to be back on the moon. We're going to be back. We're going to be on Mars for the first time. It's coming. There's no doubt in my mind.
I mean, you can join Space Force now.
Space Force?
It's true. Space Force. Isn't that what it's called? The United States Space Force?
It's a real fucking thing. It's a real thing, and I think they're going to reveal something pretty big either by the end of this year or, sometime next year.
Dude, I'm looking forward to seeing what the uniforms look like. Really?
The logo
Probably
is
super cool.
Oh, for sure. I mean, look at the logo and compare it to the Star Trek logo. They almost just directly copy and pasted it. So they're definitely going for that futuristic type vibe. But absolutely, man, I think people lose sight of what Bitcoin really is at the end of the day. It's a way to transfer value anywhere in the world almost instantly for virtually no fees, without a bank, a central institution, a government being able to have control over it. It's being your own bank, and it's putting the power back in your pocket. And if you really understand the way that the economy works and that central banks function, it's a way to opt out of a corrupt system. That's what it really is at the end of the day. And people are starting to wake up, man. Anytime the price flirts with 10,000, it's just such a big psychological thing. The buzz starts picking back up. I mean, my freaking aunt, who I have been telling about, in her ear about Bitcoin since 2013, calls me up the other week. She's like, should I buy now? I'm talking to my broker. Should I buy now at 10K? And of course, I'm letting her know the price is probably going to come down a little bit from 10K. But I mean, the way to play this game is for the long term. It's for the long term hold. Now, of course, you can have a cold storage wallet that you're not going to touch, and a hot wallet, for your day-to-day stuff. But I think a lot of the hardcore people in the space, they like having their cold storage coin. That, like you said, they're not selling until they can buy a house, until they can buy a car. Now, yes, of course, some coins I'll never sell in my lifetime, but for sure, if you think I'm not going to buy a house with a Bitcoin, you're crazy. Of course I'm going to buy a freaking house with some Bitcoin, man. I can't wait for that day.
Absolutely, that would be a monumental day. I'm going to bring over. I'm going to bring a housewarming gift. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to buy that housewarming gift with Bitcoin.
Oh, we're having a party. We're having a housewarming Bitcoin house party. 100%.
Absolutely. Another point I want to kind of bring up that you got me thinking about, Matt, was we're talking about space travel and transferred wealth and value. Not just, across, interstate or internationally, but interplanetary, intergalactically.
Right.
Because the gold bugs, I've been talking about gold as a store of value, and it's great and all, but we are going to be mining asteroids very soon.
Yep.
We're already looking at it. And there's asteroids that are completely made out of gold.
Facts.
So that is just it's not an unlimited supply. I mean, there's an unlimited supply of gold, more or less, out in space. There's a ton of it in the ocean. Now, of course, it has a stock to flow ratio that changes, but not like Bitcoin. A lot of the gold bugs, and I like gold, I like precious metals, but at the end of the day, Bitcoin is just going to blow past it. Already has been.
Yeah.
It's just something to know.
I'm on the exact same page, man. I like gold. I'm on Team Gold. I have some physical gold. I think if you actually have physical gold right now, you're in a great spot because it's so hard to even touch physical gold right now. I just don't like how I don't even want to say his name and give him the free fucking advertising. But I just hate how Peter Schiff, we're going to say it. Fuck Peter Schiff. I just hate how Peter Schiff paints the picture that it's gold versus Bitcoin, when in reality, we're on the same team. It's sound money versus unsound money. And, we're both...
He just does that for attention. He owns Bitcoin.
He did until he lost the fucking password. I mean, he definitely owned it at some point, not anymore.
A reminder, good wallet, back up your passwords, back up your private key. If you're going to be your own bank, you got to take responsibility.
Exactly. Do not keep your,
at the Blockchain Center, do you guys help people with that?
Oh, of course, man. I mean, not much anymore in a military lockdown state. But dude, that's like one of my favorite things to do is watch people realize that aha moment, just getting them, even if it's a desktop or a software wallet, and they hear that first little bing when the Bitcoin comes through, just helping them see that aha moment, and then helping teach them about using an actual hardware wallet and securing the keys, not your coins. But dude, yeah, that's a big part of what we do, and we're still helping people learn about it through our online education programs and all the online content that we bring to you guys for free. But I agree 100%. There's no better form of money set to dominate the interplanetary financial connectivity scene. You're not going to be able to send gold planet to planet. That's not feasible. But you can send Bitcoin through a satellite. Blockstream is already doing it. It's already been done. And like you said, once they start mining those asteroids, gold price is going to take a hit. But, fortunately.
And we have to pay those miners. We're going to have to send them Bitcoin. Exactly. We're not going to Western Union them, some Trump bucks. Yeah, man. I mean, no, it's exciting times ahead. Exciting times ahead.
Absolutely, man. Extremely bullish. Had to bring you guys, a special episode of the podcast here. Post-halving, right around 10K, 2009 coins moving. We got Johnny Dollar back on. We're really putting in the work for you guys here. Johnny, any closing message to bring to the people? Anything that you're working on that you want to, bring to light or highlight for them?
Well, I am, like I said, I was part of the Virtual Rare Art Festival, and I've been working on a lot of tokenized digital art, and they can check me out on my website, johnnydollar.biz. That's my handle on Instagram, and I'm Johnny Dollar Art on Twitter. And post-corona, come down to the Blockchain Center. I got some art there. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, Johnny. Thank you so much for joining us. But guys, definitely check out Johnny's work. It's incredible. It really fits in to the themes that we've been talking about here today. We have a whole wall here dedicated to him at the Blockchain Center. Fortunately, we're still closed at this time. Hopefully we'll be able to open up back soon so you can take it in. But in the meantime, head over to his website, johnnydollar.biz. Follow him on Instagram, Twitter. Check out his stuff. Thanks again so much for joining us. Johnny, really appreciate you. Just want to shout out the whole team at Podtex. We are proud to partner with the team at Podtex to bring you guys the best podcasting resources available. If you are interested in having your very own podcast, we can help take care of that for you. You can visit Podtex, podtechs.com/Miami to find out more. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Bitcoin Center Miami Radio. And Johnny, thanks again for jumping on the show. Really appreciate that, man.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Well, stay safe, guys. And until next time, take care.
Strategically located in downtown Miami's emerging business district, the Blockchain Center is the premier hub of the Americas for teaching, networking, and building the distributed future. Our mission is to manifest the mass adoption of blockchain technology and onboard the next 6 billion people to the global monetary revolution.